Hey, what's up, Street Talks? Eric from the Eric from Street Photography blog. I just had a first test run on the streets with a new duh-duh-duh-duh Fujifilm GFX medium format camera with a 63 mm lens. I think after the medium format upsizing, it's 35 mm equivalent. I think this lens is like a 40, 35 or something. Anyways, it is a really fucking cool camera. When I first heard about it being made, I was like, that's pretty awesome. It's very innovative out of Fujifilm. Big ups to Fujifilm for having the balls to make it. Also, I know Zach Arias and David Hobby and a lot of other Fujifilm ambassadors have done a really good job giving a lot of good feedback. I think it's probably one of the most thoughtfully designed cameras that I've actually recently played with. One thing that I immediately love about it is, first of all, it's medium format in a very small, compact body, extremely comfortable to hold in the hand. It feels very comfortable and organic in the hand. One thing I love about the design is this little thumb rest over here is actually very comfortable in your thumb. Here, the joystick actually makes a lot of sense because you could change the focusing points pretty easily. To turn it on, you just kind of switch it up here. One thing that I like, small detail, this little button here, you could turn it on and off. So even when you're in the dark, you could see the dials clearly. And in terms of when you're shooting with it, you know, push it halfway to focus, and you could change the autofocus really easily with this button here. In terms of the menus, they've done a good job keeping it pretty minimalist. Personally, I just kept it shooting RAW plus JPEG and just using the classic Chrome preset. It also has the possibility to shoot with the electronic viewfinder, but I actually found I really love shooting with the LCD screen. Cool things that this camera does, this LCD thing pops out, so it could swivel up and down. And at first I thought it was kind of stupid and gimmicky, but I've been using it a lot today and I had a lot of fun with it. Or even cooler is here on the side, there's a little button here. You can push this and boom, this thing comes out. So essentially, if you're shooting super low angles with this camera, you could point it down and look up. And I actually use that quite a bit today too. And a lot of people are pretty snobby about viewfinders. Personally, I actually prefer to shoot with the LCD screen now because it allows for more creative flexibility. Like when I'm shooting street photography, I could just put the camera from super, super low angles pointed up, or I could hold the camera super up and, pop up the LCD back thing and I could look down while shooting. So it affords a lot more creativity, and also the fact that the viewfinder is detachable means that the camera is just smaller. So without the lens hood, it's, in terms of the weight, it feels like kind of like a, it's actually really not that heavy. It feels very comfortable when you're holding it in two hands. I walked around with it all day without any stress. Also, the default Fujifilm strap, it's kind of like this nice neoprene, so it's kind of stretchy and it's kind of nice. It's very comfortable on the neck. In terms of the autofocus is pretty slow, and after you make an image, it takes like half a second or so to buffer again. One of the benefits I found, at least shooting with the streets, I did mostly street photography and portraits with it today and urban landscapes. It forces you to slow down. And some people that might drive them crazy, but to me it's not a big issue. And I just set the autofocus to the center point. And even while people were walking towards me, yeah, I actually nailed the focus pretty easily. It really wasn't too bad. In terms of the technical settings, I kept everything in just A mode, so that's essentially P mode, which I like to shoot in the streets. Kept the ISO 1600. The high ISO is not great, but for me, I prefer the speed of shooting ISO 1600 and I don't mind the additional noise. For those of you guys who don't know much about digital medium format, when you shoot with a bigger sensor in digital medium format, I don't know why this is, something to do with physics. The high ISO performance for medium format digital cameras is really not very good. Once again, I don't know why that is. So if you want to buy this camera, you're probably realistically not gonna shoot it above ISO 1600 or 3200. Even the Fujifilm X100F or any of the new X Pros or XT2 or X Pro 2, the high ISO performance is way better. And if you want a camera that's fast for the streets, you probably really do not want this. I shot mostly street portraits with the GFX, and I was really kind of blown away with the image quality. Like, I don't think image quality is really that important nowadays because we're all seeing photos on a 4-inch screen. But I know for me, looking at the photos in full screen on my laptop, the photos just look super 3D and just kind of pop out at you. Realistically speaking, the camera's expensive. It's about 7 grand for the body, a grand for the lens. I think it's a much better investment than buying like a digital Leica. I think it's better to buy this. But then questions to consider. First of all, do you have expendable cash? If you have a bunch of money and just like buying shit, I would say just go for it. If you're the type of photographer who would probably need to put a loan or put it on your credit card, do not buy this camera. Also, if you're a commercial photographer thinking about investing in medium format digital, think to yourself, so the lens is probably a grand and the body's about seven grand. Is buying a new camera really going to help you earn an additional $8,000 of revenue? Honestly, for most photographers, no. I really don't think so. I think Fujifilm, they're trying to target the professional market with this camera. So like, I'd imagine wedding photographers, commercial portrait photographers, and I think it's gonna sell very well. I think it's already selling pretty well. But also a lot of it is just, it's gonna be for rich hobbyists, like people with cash to burn, and they think that buying a medium format camera is gonna help them become better photographers. But unfortunately, the truth is, no matter how expensive your camera is, it's not going to help you become a better photographer. Just like everyone knows, when you used to play, I used to play basketball, kids would always think that buying a new pair of Jordans or Nikes or Kobe's will make them better ball players. No, you just have to dribble the ball a lot and shoot a lot. Same thing, I used to play tennis. Buying a new tennis racket isn't going to make you the next Federer or the next Nadal. So overall, the design is great. Really no qualms. It's very comfortable in the hand. It's not heavy, perfect hand grip. In terms of my suggestions, like I actually have no suggestions to change on the camera. I think it's perfect the way it is. I think, I mean, obviously the next GFX Mark II or whatnot is going to come out, and the autofocus, and I think things are just going to get a little bit better. I generally don't recommend people to buy anything first generation because there's probably still a lot of kinks to be worked out. Like, remember the first iPad or the first iPhone? There were a lot of issues with it. And so I'm not exactly sure what the issues are going to be with this. I borrowed this from one of my friends who is a Fuji ambassador, and I'm not going to buy one. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with my Ricoh GR version 2. And this is certainly not an everyday camera that you carry with you all the time. That's one thing to keep in mind as well. But once again, in terms of the how I would rate the camera, I mean, I look at the image quality. Image quality is fantastic. Probably the image quality, I'll give it like what, 9.9 out of 10. The image quality looks great. Colors look fantastic. I shot everything in classic chrome. JPEG colors look really nice. Autofocus, it's probably like a 4 out of 10. Buffering speed, 4 out of 10. Ergonomics and handling, weight, the way it feels in the hand, probably give it like a 9.5, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like it's really good. And the size, the weight, yeah, it's really a home run from Fuji. So once again, big shout out to, I know Zach Arias was really pushing for this camera to be created, and I'm sure it's from him and a lot of the other guys which made this camera possible. So yeah, if you're rich, buy one. If you're if you cannot buy it in cash, please do not buy it. But this is my honest opinion of it, and I'll do a proper review of it soon. All right, peace out, guys.